Everyone has experienced it at some point. It's that comforting feeling of being the center of someone's world. The person who only calls when they're lost and only returns when they're hurting. And each time, you welcome them with open arms, mistaking it for love. But what if it was never really love at all? What if it was simply need? This story explores something that most of us haven't really questioned. We've been taught to believe that love means making sacrifices. We've been told that staying put is a sign of strength. However, sometimes the most valuable lesson a person can learn is recognizing the difference between being loved and being gently used, often by someone who genuinely believes they love you. Let me introduce you to Mara. Mara resided in a small village nestled between two hills, with a road that curved just enough to obscure what was coming until it was right in front of you. She wasn't wealthy or famous, but everyone in the village knew her because everyone relied on her. If a neighbor's roof was leaking, Mara would offer her husband's tools without being asked. If a child was sick and the parents had no one to watch their other children, Mara would take them in. When old Thomas from the hill lost his wife and remained isolated for weeks without eating, Mara would arrive every morning with bread and sit beside him in silence until he found his voice again. People said Mara had a special gift and was born to help others. Mara believed them because helping others gave her a sense of peace, as if she was exactly where she should be. She was married to Edric, a quiet man with kind eyes and strong hands, skilled at fixing almost anything made of wood or stone. However, Edric struggled to find consistent work, and during difficult times, he became withdrawn. He stopped talking during dinner and stopped asking about her day. He would sit by the fire, staring into it, and Mara would bring him tea without being asked, which he would accept silently. Eventually, when he found work again, he would revert to his old self, warm, grateful, and making small jokes that made her smile. Mara convinced herself that this was love and that this was what marriage entailed. You support someone through tough times, and eventually, things get better. And for years, she accepted this pattern as natural. Her closest friend was Cella, whom she had known since childhood. Cella was intelligent and had a boisterous laugh. She was always the one who pulled Mara out of her own reserved world. But Cella had a tendency. Whenever her life became complicated, whether it was a fight with her husband, a financial setback, or feeling guilty about a choice she had made, she would turn to Mara, not to ask how Mara was doing or to offer anything in return. She came to unburden herself, and Mara listened to it all. After each visit, Cella left feeling lighter, while Mara felt heavier than before. Still, Mara told herself this was friendship and that a true friend shows up during difficult times. She was proud to be that person. There was also a young man in the village named Doran. He had no father, and his mother worked far away most of the year. He was 17, restless, and always getting into trouble, not serious trouble, but the kind that stemmed from not knowing what to do with his energy. Mara took him under her wing. She gave him work in her garden and listened when he talked about his dreams. She lent him money when he needed it, always telling herself she didn't expect it back, but secretly hoping he would prove himself worthy of her trust. For 2 years, Doran turned to her when he had nowhere else to go, and she gave and gave and gave. He called her the closest thing to a mother he had ever known. His words filled her heart so completely that she didn't realize she had stopped sleeping well. She didn't notice that her own small garden, the one she had planted just for herself, had become dry and neglected. One autumn, everything changed. Mara became ill. It wasn't anything life-threatening, but it was serious enough that she had to stay in bed for 2 weeks and couldn't help anyone. She sent word to her neighbors that she wasn't feeling well and waited. Edric took care of the house, but he seemed uncomfortable doing so. He wasn't unkind, But he made it clear in subtle ways that giving was supposed to be her role, not his. Cella visited once on the third day, bringing a small cake. She spent most of the visit talking about a new problem with her husband. Before leaving, she squeezed Mara's hand and said, "You'll get better soon, you always do." And then, she left. Doran didn't visit at all. Mara lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and something inside her became very still. Not exactly sad or angry, just still, like a lake right before it freezes over. She thought about the roof she had helped fix for the neighbor, and how that neighbor had never once asked how she was feeling. She thought about old Thomas, who had eaten her bread every morning for a month, and who, after recovering, had built a fence between their houses and barely acknowledged her when they passed each other. She thought about Cella and all the hours she had listened, and how Cella would become quiet and uncomfortable the few times Mara had started talking about her own problems. She thought about Doran's words, the closest thing to a mother. Beautiful words, but a child who loves his mother comes to her when she's sick. She understood something, not with bitterness, but with the quiet, aching clarity of a woman who had finally stopped looking away. She hadn't been loved, she had been useful. These things are not the same. To be loved means someone values you even when you have nothing to offer. To be useful means someone values what you can do for them. You can be extremely useful to someone who doesn't think about you once when you're no longer useful. The painful truth is that if you fill every void in every person's life, they will never have to find their own way, and they will never grow. Meanwhile, you will shrink quietly without anyone noticing, including yourself. Mara got out of bed on the 14th day and walked to her small garden. She pulled out the dead weeds, turned the soil with her own hands, and planted new seeds, not for anyone else, but for herself. That morning, she made a simple but profound decision. She would still help people, but she would do it differently. She would help when it felt true to herself, not when she was afraid to say no. She would help from a place of abundance, not from emptiness. The next time Cella arrived at her door, with a storm behind her eyes and a story already forming on her lips, Mara poured 2 cups of tea and sat down. But before Cella could begin, Mara spoke first. She said, "I want to tell you something that's been on my mind." And she shared it quietly and honestly, without exaggeration. Cella was taken aback and didn't know how to react at first, but she listened. Something small and real passed between them that had never been there before. She stopped automatically filling his silences and stopped disappearing into helpfulness before he had a chance to ask. At first, it made him uneasy. Then, it piqued his curiosity. He began, slowly and somewhat awkwardly, to ask her questions. "How are you feeling today? What do you want for dinner? What's on your mind?" Small questions, but genuine ones. As for Doran, he returned months later, looking a bit older and more subdued. He stood at her door without an agenda for the first time. He said he had thought about her when she was sick and felt ashamed that he hadn't visited. Mara invited him in. She didn't say it was okay and that it didn't matter. "You're old enough to understand that now." He nodded, understanding. That conversation gave him something that her silent giving never could, a standard to live up to. Mara didn't become a cold person, and she didn't shut her door to others. Instead, she learned to open it differently, with choice rather than obligation, with love rather than fear. Something extraordinary happened in the months that followed. The people who genuinely cared for her became more apparent. They had always been there, a few quiet individuals who never asked for much. But she had been too preoccupied with meeting the loudest demands to notice them. Now she saw them, and she had something left to offer them and herself. If you've always been the giver, Ask yourself one honest question. When you had nothing to give, who stayed? The people who love you aren't the ones who need you the most. They're the ones who value you, not just what you do for them. Being needed can feel like love, especially if you've never experienced true love. The moment you start treating yourself that way, you'll see clearly, without anger, who is truly there for you. Give, be kind, and open your door, but do it from a place of your own choosing. Do it because you want to, not because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't. That's not coldness. It's the beginning of real love for others and, most importantly, for yourself. Mara planted new seeds that morning, and her garden grew back stronger than before. If something in this story resonated with you, if you saw yourself in it, then this channel is for you. Every story here is a seed. If you like, leave a comment, share this with someone who needs to hear it, or subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. You're helping this garden grow. You're helping someone else find the words they couldn't find. That's no small thing. That's exactly what real love looks like. We'll see you in the next story.